Every day, fires occur in residence halls, fraternity houses, and in off-campus housing. Most of these fires are caused by carelessness. And too often, students are killed because they aren't aware of the dangers of smoke inhalation or how rapidly fires can develop. Hey, sometimes students die because they ignore the danger. And sometimes they're killed because their thought processes are impaired.
It's the last thing in your mind. I mean, you don't even think about it happening.
Every time I see something on TV that has to do with a fire, I tremble.
Do you think about fire safety?
It's not the first thing I think about, but sure, it's a concern.
Not often, really, no. I guess not.
Last year when we had parties, I thought about it because we didn't have any fire extinguishers and we had a lot of people smoking.
Since I live in the dorms, it's not really a big concern.
No one thinks about dying usually, so, and I don't.
Brad Olson, a University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire student living off campus, was the innocent victim of a fire that started because someone was careless.
Brad lost his life in his off-campus home. Now, fire in any setting, whether it's a training burn like we have here, or in the tragedy that took Brad's life, is a killer. Now, Brad's bedroom was on the second story of this home he lived in. The fire started in the bedroom beneath his by careless use of smoking materials. Now, by the time Brad realized what was going on, he made an attempt to escape from the window. Now, already in this short of a time frame, he was met with flames lapping up the side of the window. He couldn't get out. So he turned, trying to go down the stairway as a secondary means of escape, and that was filled with thick, black, choking smoke. He had nowhere to go. Now, had the smoke alarms in this house had working batteries in it, Brad would have had early warning that there was a problem and may have been able to escape. But as it was, he was trapped with nowhere to go.
All of a sudden, they realized there was smoke coming down the stairway. So they went out basement exit, thinking that they'll get to Brad, though. And when they got out, they realized that the house was completely on fire.
Had there been batteries in those smoke alarms, it could have prevented Brad's death. I felt pretty secure about his personal safety, and I'll have to say I just became complacent.
I couldn't believe it. I was hoping when he first started talking that Brad had been in a car accident or something, that he just had a broken leg. I was just hoping he had been hurt and that he could recover. But he was dead.
What's the first thing you'd do if you were in a fire?
Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, roll.
Stop, drop, and roll. Is that it? And grab my guitar and run.
Grab my valuables and leave.
I look for a fire extinguisher.
Find a fire extinguisher? Man, if you're in a fire situation, don't waste your time trying to find a fire extinguisher. Survival is your first priority. Now that means get out as fast as you can. Don't worry about your stuff. It's replaceable. And don't waste time trying to make phone calls to warn people. Pull the fire alarm, but only if it's on your way out. Now, the most important thing you could do for your friends is to get out and get help. You can't do anything for your friends if you're trapped inside. That's why you gotta move. Get out when you first see smoke or flames, because a whole house or dorm can burn out of control in just 3 minutes. Fire has a big appetite. In fact, it can double every 30 seconds, which means you don't have time to grab your favorite CDs or a boombox.
It's an unrelenting, merciless monster, and anything in its path it's going to take with it, because it does happen so fast that if you don't take advantage of the few seconds that you do have, chances of making it out are very slim. It just doesn't offer a second chance.
There was an area there where during the party a number of people had been smoking cigarettes and cigars, and we determined that one of the cigars or cigarettes had been discarded into a pile of trash.
Fellow students in Tar Heel country at the University of North Carolina know the horror of this kind of fire. 5 students lost their lives when the Phi Gamma Delta fraternity house burned down.
It's a shock, and it still seems like it's the strangest way to lose 5 people from our school, but it's real.
We'd heard it was just the kitchen that had caught on fire, and we were joking about the cook, you know, what he was going to do, and like we heard no one was hurt or anything, and then we pulled up and saw the house, and I never thought anything like that would happen. When I lived in the house, I mean, people coming and going as much as they are. I mean, I would have thought that was the last thing that, and from a cigarette butt in the basement.
But I don't know how it got so large before anyone realized it.
From this corner where the fire started, it began to spread up into the wall coverings of the basement, building its intensity as it went. This whole area became completely engulfed in fire. The fire began to go up this stairwell to where the students were asleep on the second floor. The smoke and heat came up this stairwell into this hallway where the bedrooms were. It became so intense it was impossible to breathe, impossible to see. So dense you wouldn't even see someone standing next to you. The smoke is deadly. The smoke is actually what killed the students, not the fire. Once it got to this point, then it began to spread up this stairwell to the third floor and actually burned out the roof. There were 2 students in this bedroom who were forced by the heat and smoke as it came up the stairwell, out this window, and jumped to the ground from the third floor.
He was 20 years old when he died, and end of his sophomore year. My first thought was, wow, this is a joke. This is a bad joke. It was a nightmare, and it has been.
There were safety issues. They really were of no concern to us just because it was what we were used to.
I miss the family we had. And it just changes your entire life. I miss my life.
But it's another thing of going to a funeral of someone who's 21 years old that have their whole life ahead of them. What's so ironic to me is that Joanna was like so full of life and so energetic all the time that, you know, you never think something like this could happen to someone.
Now, like I said, you have to get out as quickly as possible, but don't just go flying out the door. Feel the door handle first. If it's hot, don't open the door. If it's cool, brace yourself against the door and open it a crack. If there's heat or heavy smoke, close it. Now, if you're trapped inside, get somebody's attention or look around for another escape route, like a window. If you can safely open your door, leave, shutting the door behind you. Closing the door might protect your stuff from smoke and fire damage. If you pass a fire alarm, pull it and yell fire to warn people as you escape. But don't stray from your path. Get out of the building. Anytime you encounter smoke, get on the floor and crawl to safety. The air down low is cleaner and safer to breathe because the dangerous gases are closer to the ceiling.
The safest place is near the floor where the majority of the good air and the lack of the heat is located.
Stay out of the elevators. They can fill up with smoke, stop working, and leave you in a death trap between floors.
Whenever a smoke alarm goes off, whether it's a blaring horn in your dorm or the smoke alarm in your home, it means get out.
Now, once you're out, call the emergency number and let them know if there's anyone still inside or someone who may need special help. The best thing you can do to prevent fires in the first place is to keep the what-ifs in the back of your mind. Like, what if I block this exit door and there's a fire? What if I leave candles or incense burning when I'm not in the room to keep an eye on it? What if I stick too many plugs into one place? What if I fall asleep with a lit cigarette in my hand?
The sad thing about this is none of this had to happen. Had someone been assigned to monitor the safety of the house following the party, check the trash cans, ensure that there was no threat here that would cause a problem for the students asleep upstairs, this destruction and this tragedy did not have to happen.
Just being more aware that it can happen and don't do stupid things.
Do you pay attention to fire alarms?
Not usually.
Depends on where I'm at. If I'm in like a crowded bar or a crowded nightclub or something, then I would pay quite a bit of attention to a fire alarm, but ordinarily not.
Sometimes. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, so sometimes I sleep through them.
I think a lot of them are false alarms and people don't really pay much attention to them.
Yeah, I mean, our ones in our house go off all the time because whenever we cook a pizza, We have like 5 alarms and they all start going off when our pizza's done. If I smelled smoke, I would take it more seriously.
I would first think that, oh, it's another drill.
It just seems such a hassle.
When I was in the dorms, they went off all the time, and I'm like, this isn't real. So I would just sit in my room or something.
What if the fire alarm is real?
If it was real and I didn't leave, then I'd be in trouble.
If I saw fire, could smell smoke, I'd get out in time.
Students on campus may have this false sense of security. I mean, they're surrounded by steel and brick. You know, how is their dorm ever going to burn down? What they don't realize is a building may not burn, but the contents in the room, the bedding, the chairs, the drapes, that's what burns. That's what gives off the toxic smoke that kills. It's not necessarily the fire itself.
Students living in a residence hall in Greenville College in southern Illinois know firsthand why it pays to take alarms seriously. The fire started about 5 a.m. and gutted out the west wing of the men's dormitory. One student was killed. He was about to be married in a few weeks. 7 others were injured. One of the injured students cut his hands and feet breaking a window to escape. What about students who tamper with smoke and fire alarms?
I wish they would grow up and get a little maturity because they are actually playing with people's lives. It's really a hazard, it's really a waste of everyone's time, and it's really a very dangerous situation.
That's probably a felony, isn't it?
Well, I don't find humor in it whatsoever. I mean, I think it is very, obviously it's very ignorant, yes.
That they should be punished because it's like crying wolf. You know, you cry so many times and then people won't ever listen to it again.
Tampering with fire protection equipment is a real bad idea. It could cost you your college career.
Individuals who make judgments, bad judgments, and interfere with firefighting equipment are subject to 2 kinds of penalties. They are criminal, which are enforced by the cities or the states, and they're institutional. Students who are found to have disabled firefighting equipment can be asked to leave the institution, can indeed be suspended. It's a very serious matter.
Living off campus puts even a greater responsibility on you to make sure you have working smoke alarms and that your house or apartment isn't a fire trap.
I don't know. I don't think he had any warning whatsoever. I mean, it wasn't a good situation. You got to have those batteries in there. And that could have probably gave him the chance to live.
It can move so quickly through the structure that it does not offer anybody a chance at being able to get out.
I mean, what it's like to lose. It's just a total empty feeling. Can't replace Brad.
It just seems so senseless.
Losing a child creates pain that just doesn't go away.
And it's still, there are certain things that'll happen. You'll hear a song that, or be somewhere and you'll see something that'll just set off a pocket of emotions or a burst that reminds you of Ben or one of the other guys and how much you miss them.
We are living, breathing people telling you that it can happen.
Sure, you make other friends, but it's not the same.
No one thinks about dying.
If your best friend died in a fire, how would you feel?
You can't assume this won't happen to you. The 5 young students that died in this house, I'm sure, didn't believe that their college years would end this way. And it's easy to assume that this won't happen to you, but it can. It happened here, it happens at other universities. The most important lesson that you can remember is whether you're in your apartment, your dormitory, your fraternity or your sorority house, if there is a fire, you have to get out.
Take responsibility for your safety, because this guy won't. Think about it. Your future depends on it.
When you lose your parents, you lose your past. But when you lose a son or a daughter, you never get to see them graduate or start a new job.
But it's hard not to see him, though.